Hello and welcome to People Driver Luggage Friendly Compact SUV, the 2024 Honda HR-V. So the new Honda HR-V is offered in 4 different variants, which is the LX-B two-wheel drive, LX-B all-wheel drive, Sport B all-wheel drive, and then this particular variant that I am reviewing, which is the EX-L NAVI all-wheel drive. So let's begin first with the color because it looks absolutely fantastic on this one. So the color name is the Nordic Forest Pearl, which is kind of a dark greenish with a bluish kind of shade, but yes, it looks absolutely fantastic on this one. And on this top trim, the grille is completely blacked out, glossy one out here. Looks slightly smaller compared to the front face, but nonetheless it looks quite nice with this color combination and this Honda badging in chrome. And the previous generation, which was the 2023, and this one has the bumper design, which is slightly different. So if you see these black color accents given on the side, plastic trims, glossy ones, yeah, they make them look a little more sportier in terms of the appearance in the front. There are also vents, which are the functional vents, so air goes in and channels out from the back. Even at the bottom, glossy bumper that continues with the normal meshed grille, plastic one at the bottom too for that extra bit of cooling. There's also a camera for the safety systems, the adaptive cruise control, and also the pedestrian warning and the traffic assist and everything. That is because of that camera system. Then when you come to these headlights, these are a full LED headlight cluster given on this new HR-V. There are also L-shaped DRLs, and those same DRLs also convert into the turn signals, and the light itself is quite sleeker compared to the entire front fascia. And underneath this sits a 2-liter 4-cylinder DOHC iVTEC engine. Now on the sides there are these 17-inch dark grey alloy rims and all 4 disc brakes, and also these black color arches on the side to protect your actual fender. They are the glossy black ones. Even at the bottom there is additional skirting which is glossy black, and so is in the back too, these additional arches. There is a standard sunroof provided and normal rubber seals around the windows with these glossy black pillars. And when you come to the side mirrors, these are non-power foldable side mirrors, but they are power adjustable. They also have the blind spot warning inside them. There is also a turn signal provided. When you come to these doors, so the front doors are smart keyless entry doors. So the best feature of this car is that you can just keep your keys in the pocket and just walk away from the car, and it would automatically lock and unlock depending on the distance, how closer you are from the car. So that's a very convenient feature, and most of the times I've just kept the keys in my pocket and just not bothered about locking the car because it does that for you on its own. And it's also much more rounded in terms of the side body profile. There is not like a very thick line that follows anywhere, but in fact a very rounded profile on the side too. And this HR-V actually shares a lot of components with the Honda Civic itself. Now in the rear there are these full set of LED tail lights, turn signals, reversing lights, brake lights, all of it is completely LED, and then just the main brake lights are in red, otherwise it's crystal clear that way. And it continues on to the side profile too, the HR-V badging in chrome, Honda badging in chrome. And this is the bit, surprising bit, is that the all-wheel drive is like a sticker given right underneath the wiper here, not like here or here, usually how everyone would give. There's also a small spoiler given, the body colored spoiler, and also a brake light in that too. In terms of the visibility, it's actually pretty decent because the rear glass is quite not that sloping that way, but much more vertical, so you get good amount of visibility from these rear view mirror. And at the bottom, this glossy black bumper, and at the bottom, if you notice, there's this silver color plastic trim. Now in the previous generation, or at least the one that I've driven before, used to have twin exhaust tips, but now there's none. And then you can actually see this, like it's been like plugged, like this component, and then see there were these bigger round shapes on either side. But yeah, it looks much more cleaner and smoother, at least not like fake exhaust tips or anything provided on this thing. Let me know, like, what do you think of this design in the back? Now When you come to the boot space, in order to open the boot door, again the rear is also quite rounded that way. Now when the rear seats are folded up, you can put 24.4 cubic feet of luggage in the back, which is pretty big for a compact SUV. I will admit that, because look at the amount of space here in the back. There are also scuff plates provided so that you don't damage your glossy black bumper. Here there's also this rubber mat provided. There are also rubber mats provided in the cabin also, and then this is the normal mats, the carpet type of mats, if you want to opt for these and to use them. But instead the rubber mats are provided so that it's just more easier to clean them during summers or when it rains, which it rains quite a lot. And then of course in the winters it's gonna be like snowing also, so things might get dirty, so it's just easier to clean them. And underneath the boot floor sits a temporary spare wheel with the tool kit. There are also boot lights given on either side, and also a 12-volt power socket. There are also tying points given at the bottom. Now the rear seats are foldable in a ratio of 60:40. In order to do that, if your hands are long, which is going to be quite easy for anyone actually, can fold down the seats from here. So when the rear seats are folded down, you can put 55.1 cubic feet of luggage, and now that's a massive size for a small SUV. And also the boot floor itself is quite flat, so it's just easier to load this trunk space with a lot of flatter objects, bigger objects, rectangular, whatever. And the best part is that there is no step here, and also the opening sits quite low, so it's just much more easier to load your luggage in and out from this HRV. And once you're done, it's not a motorized trunk door, so it's a manual one. You just give it a slam and close it. Now the inside of the HRV is pretty roomy and practical, and it's also lined with some pretty decent material quality. I would say a few places here and there where it can, make do with a little improvement with the material quality. But let me begin with the dashboard itself. So on the front face there is soft touch material, leather covered. On the back it's again soft touch material, but slightly on the harder side. Even on the door cards there is soft touch material, but on the side face where the door handle is to open it, that's all plastic. This is where I was mentioning it can improve a little bit, but where you're going to be resting your hands, that's again leather covered with the white color stitching on the sides. Around these switches again there is like normal plastic, again that also can be improved. And there is also this meshed grill behind which are the air conditioning vents, again very similar to any other Honda product currently offered from their lineup. So again that's also aligned with the design language compared to the other models also in the lineup. And there is this just one thing, so this center tunnel is lined with leather with the white color stitching, but look at this handrest, the center one which has the storage. That door makes slightly noise, it's not that great fit, and also it's a bit wonky also. If you can notice this, the whole thing also kind of moves, and there's this tunnel here used for storage. I'm going to come to that later. The steering wheel is leather covered, and even around these buttons and switches, even the buttons actually have quite a decent quality feel to that. So overall it's a good material choice, I would say, including these seats which are the leather seats, black color one, but yes, super comfortable and super practical. So it's just very easier to operate this car. When it comes to the driver's display, so the driver's display is a mixture of analog dial, which is for the speedometer on the right side, and a digital driver's display, which is a 7-inch TFT screen, and you can change the information on that driver's display using the buttons given on the left side on the steering wheel. So there's a home button and a scroller dial. So the first information which if you keep is the range, A and B, then we go down, then the speed and time, again A and B in that 2, then the audio option, phone option, navigation, driver attention, then the all-wheel drive torque distribution shows where the power delivery is across all the wheels when you're driving, seat belts, maintenance, safety support, if you don't want to keep any content on your screen, just that gauge RPM counter, then that's also possible. Brightness, gauge display settings, where you can select what options you see on your menu screen when you're scrolling, so that options you can decide. Warnings, and then we come back to the range and fuel, and that's about it. This is your main drivers and display. Also, when you switch on the adaptive cruise control and the lane keep assist and all of that, so that is visible in the center of the screen, and there is also a digital speed on top. But yes, that's quite straightforward to operate this driver's display on this HRV. Now, when it comes to this steering wheel, this is a leather covered steering wheel, and there is also black color glossy plastic given at the bottom. It's a heated steering wheel, and the button is given at the bottom itself, so it's right there in front of you while you're driving. There are buttons given on either side, no paddle shifters, and it's manually adjustable, tilt and telescopic both, so quite easy to do. Then on the right side, there are buttons given for the adaptive cruise control, all the buttons, and also the lane keep assist and everything. So it's also got the Honda sensing, and all of that is powering this thing. As I mentioned, there was a camera also. And on the left side, there are buttons given for the media control and the voice control, and the controls to change the driver's display, all the settings. So the buttons are also like clubbed in a very good way, because on the right side it's just for cruise control, and on the left side it's for the media and also the driver's display. So again, very good, ergonomically while you're driving, because they are all there on one side each. Now, when it comes to the air conditioning control, straightforward button operated air conditioning system provided on this HRV. I'm so glad Honda just sticks to that, because it's just so much more easier to operate this control system. Now, straightforward in the middle on and off button, and that dial you can use to change the fan speed, and the quality of those dials, as I mentioned, is just very good, makes it feel a lot more premium than it is that ways. And you get dual zone air conditioning system on this HRV, more buttons for the fresh air, and also the mode where the flow of air is in whatever direction. So you can also see the information on the infotainment screen on the top side when you're switching it on and off, changing fan speed, temperature, or the mode and everything. So that's quite easy while you're driving, so you don't have to take your eyes off, but then dials are just easy to adjust everything. So yeah, that makes a lot more sense while you're driving. You will understand that when you're in it and driving it. Now, there are also heated seat buttons given on either side of the air conditioning control, so the driver and the passenger side seats are both the heated seats. Now, when you come to this infotainment screen, this is a 9-inch colorful display provided on this HRV, and color coded menu options, so it's just easier to figure out what options is for what. Like, say, red is for navigation related, yellow is for all the settings, trips and everything, blue is for connectivity and everything. So let's begin with the fluidity of the screen. It's actually decent, it's not too bad, but yeah, now I think it's time that Honda upgrades this infotainment screen, because yeah, I like this system, I will admit that, but it needs a little bit of update now compared to the rivals in the segment. So let's begin with the first option, is the all apps. Whatever apps you see on the main screen, that you can set using this option. Then the navigation, so there is a built-in navigation system provided on this HRV. It's pretty decent and it's pretty accurate. I have used it a while ago, so it's planning the route quite well, and I also checked it with the Google Maps to just see that it's taking the exact same route, but it is actually quite clever and yeah, manages the entire system very well. Then we come back to the home button. So there are buttons given on the left side also. I'm going to come to that. There is phone option, FM, Bluetooth, smartphone connectivity. So in terms of the connectivity, all these options, and there is also wireless, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay connectivity. There is Sirius XM complimentary package, trip computer, then the general settings where you will see all your day-to-day settings for the car, then the vehicle settings in which you will see driver assist, meter setup, keyless, lighting, door maintenance, and all of those options. Then the next option is USB, AM, updates, clock, Honda Link, smart shortcuts, which you go inside. So when you're driving, it's sort of these shortcuts if you want to see on your screen, so only those will be visible and not everything on your screen, so to reduce your distraction. Then we come back to the home option, and there are also buttons given at the bottom, shortcut ones, so for navigation, phone, FM, Bluetooth, smart shortcuts, and the display mode. There are the icons on your screen, you long press them and you can even adjust them also using the on screen, even it explains you what's going on. And as I mentioned, there are buttons given on the left side for the home, back, and volume dial and the track changer. So that's your infotainment screen provided on this HRV, and it also comes with 8-speaker music system. Sounds about decent, I will say. Now in terms of the charging, so there is one standard USB port given underneath the air conditioning control, one wireless charger provided on this top spec, and there are 2 more USB ports given on either side of this center tunnel, which is the type C one, but it's only for charging but not for connectivity, whereas for the rear passengers there are no USB ports provided. Now on this HRV there are these slidable sun visors. There is also this standard sunroof, which is decently sized that ways. Now in terms of the storage in the door cards, there's not much that you can put, like about 1 liter worth of bottle, but there are 2 cup holders that way provided. One is sort of a storage, but it looks like a cup holder also, so that will hold your bottles and stuff. There are also 2 flexible cup holders given underneath the air conditioning controls. I like the placement of that. It's away slightly because it won't be in your way, and also maybe you can use these air conditioning vents to cool your drinks or something. There's also this storage underneath the center tunnel. When your phones are charging, you can leave them here or even use your wallets to put them here. There's also this glove box even on the passenger side, same 2 cup holders, sort of water bottle holders there. There's this center storage in which you can put about 2.5 liter worth of bottle or your phones and wallets on the inside. And one thing is that this gear shifter is quite straightforward, so you can just put it in R, neutral, drive. There's also a sport mode, you can flick it into that, or the low range mode. But the thing is, the placement of that gear shifter stick is slightly raised up. So if you see my hand is slightly angling upwards. That's the only thing which I found, but otherwise ergonomically this car has everything rightly placed at the right place, I would say. It's just except this one, but otherwise good job with that. And when you come to the seats, so these are the full black color leather seats given on this HRV. Honestly, they are very comfortable. Leather seats I wasn't too sure about, because I find fabric seats to be more soft and comfy, but this one actually is very soft. It's also pretty broad, and it's also offering good amount of side support, and even at the bottom it's got good amount of support. And as I said, they are broad, so they are visually also quite broad when you look at them. And the under thigh support is also quite decent, and then the headrests are on the medium harder side. There's also white color stitching provided on them too. They are perforated seats, but they are just the heated seats. Now in terms of the adjustability, so the driver side seat is 6-way manually adjustable, whereas the passenger side seat is 4-way manually adjustable. Well, if you buy an HRV, most likely you are also going to be using the rear space quite often, so it's pretty essential to know how is the space in the back. Well, to report you first, the knee room, that's pretty decent for a compact SUV. There is almost half palm worth of knee room, and the headroom is all right. Someone about 6 feet will be able to sit in here. 6 feet 2 inches might start brushing their heads against the ceiling. There's a bit of a cutout provided to give you extra bit of head space. Also, these seats are in my driving position, and after that I'm getting so much of knee room, and you can even slide your legs under the seats. There's slight amount of room for that during the longer journeys, but these seats are actually slightly on the lower side, and you can make out from the angle my legs are making, and as a result of that it misses out a little bit on the under thigh support in the rear seats, and as I said, yes, you sit quite low down. Again, that is to do with the fact because it's a swooping roof line in the back, and as a result there's a reduction in the headroom, and to give you more headroom, that's why the seats have to go down, but not too much where you feel like you're so claustrophobic and just sitting way right onto the floor. It's not like that, because if you see the shoulder line of the door and my shoulder, it's nearly matching. In fact, I'm sitting a little higher up than that. Now, in terms of the comfort in the seats are just like the front ones, quite comfortable. They are soft and they are quite broad that way, so 3 people can fit into these seats. But the middle one, yes, I'm gonna sit in the middle and show you, like there's a bit of a edge on either side of these seats, and that's sort of making the middle seat slightly smaller. But there are 3 headrests provided, so yes, definitely 3 people can sit, maybe a smaller child in the middle seat. But yes, these seats offer good amount of back support, and also at the bottom they are much more like the bench type of setup. But once I sit in the middle, the middle seat is at the bottom is a little on the harder side, and even the backrest is slightly harder, and also there is no handrest given on this, and still it's slightly on the harder side. So best for a small child to sit into the middle seat, not an adult for sure, but on either side 2 adults can comfortably sit on this HRV. There's also not much tunnel, there's just a very small step, and again rubber carpets given in the back and also in the front too, as I mentioned. And you are quite reclined into these rear seats because this backrest has a little bit of an angle. The door card quality is normal plastic now, even on the side face is normal plastic. When you're going to be resting hands, that's leather covered with the white color stitching on the sides near the switch. Again, that's normal plastic, and in the door cards you can put about 1 liter worth of water. That's about it, not much storage. There is a pocket storage given on the front passenger seat. There's also a slot given in this center tunnel that extends in the back to put your phones, but as I said, there are no USB chargers or anything provided, and also there is no air conditioning vents or anything. But yes, that's about it in terms of the storage provided in the back. And in some versions of the Honda HRV, I have seen the magic seats, which is basically these seats fold up, but on this one I've tried and I didn't want to break them. It's expensive, so I did try, but they don't go up, and then I looked down at the bottom and they are hinged actually. So this top variant still does not come with that. Maybe that's an optional extra, but that definitely you should opt if that is available, because it gives you the storage on the inside. So if you want to put plants and like longer objects, taller objects in the back without opening that boot, then you can do that too on this HRV, which is why it makes it such a super practical small SUV in its segment. So this 2024 HRV is powered by a 2-liter 4-cylinder DOHC iVTEC engine that produces 158 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque, and this engine is mated to a CVT transmission that sends the power to all the wheels via an all-wheel drive system. Now, I've driven the previous generation of the HRV in 2023, which had a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. So this is slightly different experience than that, because that turbocharger had a bit of a lag, so the power would be delayed. But on this, it's quite gradual and gentle for a 2 liter, but still slightly on the sluggish side is what I find. The power delivery plus clubbed with this CVT transmission, so it's kind of a laid back approach in terms of how the transmission responds. So but otherwise this 2 liter engine for daily use, it's going to be quite ample, and you're not going to feel short of power or anything. And even when you want to accelerate, like it's got the grunt that ways, so it's not too bad. There is also a sport mode, as I said, so you flick this shifter knob into, but it's become a little noisy also. But now it just goes to a higher gear ratios to make sure that you get more power and response from the whole setup. And also this the throttle is drive by wire, so there's a bit of a delay sometimes in normal mode, but in sport mode there's not much. There's instant power delivery that way, so it comes pretty much alive, this 2-liter engine. There are also more driving modes given, so there's a switch, you flick it into that. So there is an econ mode, normal mode, econ is economy, normal mode, and then the snow mode, because there's an all-wheel drive system, so you can utilize that snow mode during the winters, so when there is less traction. So yeah, maybe let the car figure out, because it's got that intelligent all-wheel drive system also, so it cleverly figures out where to put the power around all the wheels. So yeah, that is also possible. And then there is a low range mode also, but yeah, sport drive if you want more response from the engine, but definitely good for everyday use. And in terms of the efficiency, so I've managed to get on longer runs outside of city on highways around 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is not bad for a 2-liter engine. Whereas within the city, I've been managed around 8 to 8.5, about 9 liters sometimes per 100 kilometers, which is, if there's a thick traffic, then yeah, that's why it can vary slightly, but still not too bad for, you know, a car of this size with a 2-liter engine. Now when it comes to the suspensions, they are quite compliant, I would say, for everyday use. Very less roll, and also it's quite comfortable. The dampers are soaking up the bumps quite well and making sure that I am isolated from those bumps that are coming and this car is tackling. Plus this has a 17-inch rim setup, so the additional walls are also absorbing all the bumps for me and giving me a very pleasant drive experience. And when you come to the steering, again, that's also one of the very good reasons to buy this car, because it's so precise. It's as if you're driving a sedan, and it's as good as a Civic in that sense, because the chassis itself is so good underlying this. So the steering effect that way, yes, really comes in, and you do feel it's an electronic steering, so it keeps varying in nature also. So it becomes progressively harder once you start crossing higher speeds. So yeah, that way is a good steering setup, and it's also got a very small turning radius for an SUV setup. Now when you come to the noise and the vibrations, a little bit of noise from the CVT, I will admit, and also the 2-liter engine, but not as stressed out as the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine. But this one still maintains the calm, and there's not much tire noise because of these 17-inch wheels. And the wind whooshing is, on a very windy day, it can get slightly noisier around the front and the edges here. That's about it, but otherwise it's still fairly quiet on the inside, and there's no vibrations as such, because the build quality seems to be quite decent for now, so there's nothing rattling or loose as such on the inside. When it comes to the brakes, there are 4-disc brakes. Braking performance it's decent, I will say, and yeah, it grips the brakes quite well. The brake pedal is quite progressive, and also it's got good grippy brakes, which is what you need in terms of emergency or anything if you ever have to brake hard. So yeah, that's a confidence-inducing brake setup. Now when you come to the safety systems, so there are 10 airbags, 2 for the front driver and the passenger, 2 side airbags for the driver and the passenger. There are also 2 side airbags for the rear passenger, 2 curtain airbags given in the frames, and there are also 2 knee airbags for the driver and the passenger in the front. There are also child isofix points in both the rear seats. There is also a single camera reversing system. The output from that is all right. It can improve, is what I would just mention, but yes, there is a single camera reversing system. Then there is the ABS, there is EBD, there is also the tire pressure monitoring system, then the adaptive cruise control, blind spot warning, the front and the rear collision warnings, and it's doing the job quite well. Whenever I'm around some objects, it's actually showing me at lower speeds that there's something in front of the car. The rear seat reminder. So all of those standard safety features, in fact more, are provided on this Honda HRV. Now when it comes to the pricing, so the base variant, which is the LXB two-wheel drive, comes in at 31,000. The all-wheel drive comes at $33,000, and the Sport B comes in at $36,000, whereas this particular variant, which is the EX-L NAVI, the top spec, comes at around $40,000. Now in terms of the pricing, first let me explain that the car itself is a good package to get nowadays, because there are plenty of cars with so much less focus on actual value they provide to you. So this does that. It actually provides you a lot of value. It's got a lot of safety tech, which is unlike for a car in this category, and also providing you with wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and all that, the tech stuff also given on this thing. So it's a decent package. But if you still want something a bit more balanced, then I think the LXB all-wheel drive for $33,000 is a very well balanced setup. But if you want a top spec with everything loaded, then yes, this is the one for $40,000. And for that, this car actually is quite good in its segment. It's actually roomy, it looks good, and it's got so many color combinations. The quality here and there can be improved for sure, the sort of plastics provided, and a little bit of sturdiness in terms of the interior quality. But yeah, that's about it. It's not a bad choice for a car in this segment, because there is space for passengers, it's practical, it's got loads of space, it's got the tech, it's advanced, and for looks, I mean, I like the looks of this car, which is, yeah, it's subtle. I think that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching this video, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, then you can click here, and if you want to watch more videos, then click here. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care, and drive safe. Still stuck in the signal.